Yeah. Let me wait for other participants and I'll start the session. Let me wait. So meanwhile, let me write it. Producer, consumer. Let me wait for a few participants, then I'll start the session. Yeah. So the most important thing is you should know that this value set. Okay. Initially, what is the value of value set? It is false. Let me write VS. Okay. VS stands for value set. Okay. So what is the value of value set? Initially, it is false. It is false. Okay. It is false. It is false. Now let us see how this InterThread communication will take place. Okay, fine, students. 1 second. Yeah, fine. Yeah. So let me discuss here. Okay. So a producer, in order to produce a value into this queue, a producer in order to produce a value in this queue, what it does is going to call a put method. Is going to call a put method. Is going to call a put method. So these are the put method looks like. Okay. So this put method is going to call. Okay. I'm trying to pass an integer value called 1. So n value is 1. Okay. Now here I'm checking while value set. So what's the initial value of value set? The initial value of value set is false. Since it is false, I'm not going to execute this while loop. So I'm going to execute this statement, this dot n. And what's the value of n? That is 1. Now, after setting the value of n, to 1, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to change the value set value to true. Now it is not false. Now it is true. It is true. Next, what I'm trying to do, system.out.println put n. I'm trying to put the value called n. So in the output, let me write here. So in the output, I'll get put 1. In the output, I'll get put colon 1. Okay. After putting 1, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to call a notify method. So why I'm trying to call a notify method? If my consumer is sleeping, I need to wake up my consumer. Right now, my consumer is not sleeping, but still I call this notify method. Okay. Okay, fine. Now again, I'll go back to this while loop. Again, I'll check the condition while value set. You see that the value of value set is 2. Now the condition is true. Now, since the condition is true, what's going to happen? I'm going to call this wait method. So once you call the wait method, what's going to happen? Once you call the wait method, okay, the producer is going to sleep. Once you call the wait method, the producer is going to sleep. Now this producer will sleep. And the producer will sleep. Right? The producer will sleep. Is it right, student? No. And one important thing you should observe here is how this put method is called. I think we have discussed. The put method is called with respect to while loop. While true. And inside this, I'm writing q dot put of I plus plus. So this I'm going to call it. Okay. So in first instance, okay, this value of I is 1. Okay, I've called this, I've executed. In first instance, I've used this entire block of code. Okay, so I call it this put first time. So since it's an infinite loop, again the second time, I'm calling the same put method. But I'm calling the put method second time, and what's the value of I? So initially it is 1. So now the value of I is incremented to 2. Initially it is 0. From 0 it has changed to 1. So when I'm calling the second time, the value of I has changed to 2. So the I value has changed to 2. So with the value of 2, what I'm trying to set the condition while value set. Now the value set value is 2. So since it is true, this while loop is getting executed. When while loop is getting executed, I'm going to call this wait method. When you call wait method, what's going to happen? This producer will going to be sleep. So this producer will go to sleep. That's very, very important. You should know it. Okay. So each and every time, what's going to happen when I'm trying to call this put method, the value of n will be incremented. And that's what I said this while loop. This while loop is very, very important. Okay. You see that is an infinite loop. Okay. So when I'm calling the first time, the value of n is 1. When I'm calling the first time, the value of n is 1. When I'm calling the second time, the value of n is 2. So at the second time, what's going to happen? The value set value is true. Since it is true, my thread, that is my producer, is going to sleep. Now here my producer is sleeping. Since the producer is sleeping, what's going to happen? The consumer will start running. The consumer will start running. So now here what I'm trying to do, I'm checking the condition while not value set. What is the value of value set? It is true. Not true means false. So since this condition is false, so this condition is false. Okay, I'm going to jump here. I'm going to jump here. I'm going to call got 1. I'll write it. Got 1. Got 1. I will be printing. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm going to change the value set to false. So now it is no more true. Now what is the value? The value of value set is false. Next, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to call the notify method. When you call the notify method, the producer which is sleeping will wake up. You see that here my producer is what my producer is doing. My producer is sleeping. Now what I've done, now the consumer is calling notify. Once the consumer is calling notify, the producer which is sleeping will wake up, or it will start running. It will start running. Okay, so once I call the notify method, again I'm going to call this get method. As you notice that students, both this get and put method is placed in infinite loop. Okay, why? I think I'll discuss. Okay, while true, while true, opening slot base, I closing this, and inside this they written q dot get. See that q dot get. So this q dot get also is present in infinite loop. Okay, so in the first iteration I have done it. So since it's an infinite loop, now I'm going to second iteration. In second iteration, again I'm checking while not value set. Now, what's the value of value set? It is false. So not false means it's nothing but it is true. Now since it is true, what's going to happen? I'm calling wait method. So once you call the wait method, what's going to happen? Your consumer will go to sleep. Consumer will go to sleep. Your consumer will go to sleep. Now, as you see that here, my producer is running. When my producer is running, when running, from where it will start running, you see that one important thing. So when I executed this statement, my producer has slept. Now, once it came, so once it starts running from the subsequent statement. What is the subsequent statement? This is a subsequent statement. Now, what is the value of n? The value of n is nothing but it is 2. So again, I'm doing value set equal to true. Now, false, I change to true. False, I change to true. I'm putting system.out.println put n. Now, what's the value of this? It's nothing but this 2. Put 2. Again, I'm calling notify. So once you call notify, the consumer which is sleeping will start running. Okay, will start running. So again, I'll go back here. I'll check while value set. So each and every time I'm trying to iterate, the value of n is going to change. Now the value of n will be 3. Again, I'm checking while value set. What is the value set? It is true. Since it is true, again, I'm trying to call the wait method. When I call the wait method, the producer will go to sleep. Right? Now you see that here, now my consumer is running. When a consumer is running, it'll start running from here. Because at this point, the consumer has slept. Okay. So it will start executing from the next statement. What is it? Got n. Now what's the value of n? Is going to put the value for n. It's got 2. It got 2. And similarly it goes on. It put 1, got 1, put 2, put 1, got 1, put 2, got 2, put 3, got 3. So like this it goes on. So like this it goes on. So that's what the code goes. You have any questions, students? Any questions with respect to this code? That's what it is sleep. So once it puts got 10, that is value called 2. What's going to happen? I'm changing value set equal to false. Now the true value has been changed to false. Again, I'm trying to call notify. When I'm trying to call notify, okay, the producer which is sleeping, again it will start running. So when it start running, again I'm changing the value of this to 3. I'm changing again the value set equal to true. Okay, now the false has become 2. Okay. True. And again Again, I'm going to put, again, I'm calling this put, call this put 3. Okay. Next, again, I'm trying to call notify. Once you call notify, okay, the consumer which is sleeping, again, it will start running. So again, this will go back and the value, I'm passing a value called 4. I'm checking while value set. And what's the value of value set? I think it is true. The value of value set is true. Since it is true, again the consumer is, again the producer is sleeping. Okay. Now, when the producer is sleeping, what's going to happen? The consumer will start running. So what is going to print? Is going to print got n. And what's the value of n? The value of n is nothing but it is 3. It prints got 3. And like this, it goes on. Like this, it goes. This is the output. You see that there is communication between this producer and consumer. So this inter-thread communication, in short, we call it as ITC. IT stands for inter-thread communication. This inter-thread communication can be achieved with respect to two important methods. One is wait method. This inter-thread communication can be achieved with two important methods. One is wait method. The second is notify. Using wait and notify, what we can do, we can achieve this inter-thread communication. Yeah, any questions, students, you can ask me. Any questions, you can ask me. And the most important thing you notice that this wait method, I placed inside this try and catch block. You see that this wait method I placed inside this try and catch block. This is the single wait statement I placed inside this try and catch block. Why? Because wait is a method which throws interrupted exception. Since wait is a method which throws interrupted exception, I place this wait statement inside this try and catch block. And here also you can see that the wait statement I placed inside this try and catch block. Why? Because wait is a statement which throws interrupted exception. You may ask, sir, how come we know that wait is a method which throws interrupted exception, right? So for that, you need to check the documentation. I can see that when I'm trying to discuss here, you see that here. You see that. So these are the, this is how a wait method looks like. You see that wait is a method which throws interrupted exception. Since wait is a method which throws interrupted exception in a program, we are trying to use wait method. In a program, we're trying to use wait method. It's mandated that you need to place this statement inside your try and catch block. This is mandated that you need to place inside your try and catch block. Is right? So that's what you're doing. As you notice here, students, notify method is not throwing any exception. Since notify method is not throwing any exception, you notice that I have not placed notify inside this try and catch block. Yeah, you can see that this notify, you see that I am not placed inside this try and catch block. Whereas you see that the wait method I place inside this try and catch block. Why? Because wait is a method which throws interrupted exception. Okay, so these are the methods looks like. These are a wait method looks like. This a notify method looks like, and this are a notify all method looks like. And you see that here there's some interesting keyword called final. Okay, you see that all these methods are final methods. What do you mean by these final methods? Okay, just I would like to illustrate this final. Then I would like to close the session. Anyhow. Second, let me open a notepad and let me discuss. Okay. That's note. Stop. Let me share my screen. Just there's some additional information which I like to give here. Let me increase the font size. Let me write here. Class A. Right. Right. One more class. Class B. Class B extends A. You see that here, students. Okay. I have a class called A. Inside this class method, I have a method called test. And this method test I have defined here. Now, what my class B is trying to do, my class B is trying to inherit a class called A. Okay. Okay. When class B is going to inherit a class called A, is going to inherit this method called test. But what this class B is trying to do, this class B is trying to override. This class B is trying to override the method which is trying to inherit. And we know that we call this as method overriding. We call this as method overriding. We call this as method overriding. Is right, students? This we have discussed, right? Now, class B, which is inheriting this method called test, what is trying to do is trying to override. Okay, but this method overriding can be prevented with respect to a keyword called final. With respect to a keyword called final, what we can do, we can prevent this method overriding. How we can do it? You can see that. So let me clear my drawing. Let me clear my drawing. Here, I can prefix with a keyword called final. Prefix the keyword called final. So once I prefix with the keyword called final, I'm telling that this test method is final and you can't override anymore. If class B is trying to override this method, this statement throws an error. This statement throws an error. Why this statement throws an error? Because class A is telling that this test method is final. In other words, you can't override this test method. But if class B is trying to override this test method, the compiler is going to throw an error. That's what the meaning of this final. I hope you understood this. That's what it is. So that's what here is telling final. Okay, these are final methods. Let me get my marker. Yeah. So all these are final methods. The final methods indicates that all these methods, that is wait, notify, notify all, you can't override. So I finished with ITC, that is inter-thread communication. You have any questions, you can ask. If there are no questions, and that's all for today's class, have a nice day. If you have any questions, you can ask, otherwise you can leave the session, and that's all for today's class. At present, some technical issue is going on. They have already been intimated on email. They are rectifying the issue. As soon as they get back to us, we will communicate you back. Any questions, students? If there are no questions, you can leave the meeting, and that's all for today's class. Have a nice day. Any questions? Ms. Vaishnavi, any questions you're having? Yeah, I can see someone is typing in. Rifa says, no, sir, thank you. Okay, thank you, Rifa. And what about others? Vaishnavi, Mohitraj, Niriksha, Rachana, Lakshman. You have any questions? Yeah, if you have no questions, you can leave the meeting.
No, sir.
No, sir. Vaishnavi says no, sir. Okay, fine. Then you can leave the meeting, students. Yeah, that's all for today's class.